I'm Marla Cleveland, and I'm volunteer assistant here at Illinois Wesleyan. It's a real privilege for me to be able to fulfill this position. It's something that suits me. I love coaching, but with my family, it's hard to do that full time. So Maya Smith has been just wonderful to let me come in and join the team and do what I love. So at home, I'm a teacher's assistant during the day, so that takes my hours during the day. And I have children that are playing athletics in college as well and high school, and so that's the only job I can really fit within that schedule as well.
All right. So growing up, talk about like what kind of sports you played. You're from around here, yes. And talk about kind of the opportunities growing up that you had compared to like now with girls in sports.
Yes. I was one of the very lucky girls because I came in at a great time. I went to a very small school, Sabre-Arrowsmith, which is just 30 minutes to the east of here. And we had sports for girls when I was in 7th grade. So I walked into something really nice. So I always have had sports. But I know that all the girls before me did not. And I know a little bit about the appreciation for that sport at that time because I know in 7th grade we played with the pennies that you slip over your head and tie on the sides. We played volleyball in gymnasiums that we hit the roofs. But that made no difference to me. We were just in a gym playing ball, and so that was wonderful. So I knew when I got in high school, there were girls ahead of me that did not have those opportunities until high school, and how they just, it always gave me a nice appreciation for having sport, because I don't know what I would have done without it. So those girls before me, the pioneers, I just admire them so much for all they did to provide that for me.
Awesome. So what made you so you went to ISU.
Yes.
What kind of drew you to ISU and kind of Bloomington Normal, just in general?
Well, just the opportunity. I wanted to play basketball in college. I played a small high school, so I did every sport they had, softball, track, volleyball, basketball, pretty much is what we had. But basketball was my love. I did not know that I could play at Illinois State until late in my senior year. And so I thought I'd go to a local junior college around the area, but when that opportunity became available, it was just like a gift to me, a gift to my community, a gift to my family. Financially, I was the 7th of 8 kids, and it would have been a struggle to put me through college. We were hopeful to work out the junior college route, so Illinois State took care of that for me.
And you played professionally as well?
I did.
Talk a little bit about that.
Again, I just slid into everything at the right time. I had a teammate at Illinois State, Kathy Boswell, Olympian in '84. She kind of paved the route for me. I knew she had gone over there to play in Germany prior to her training for the Olympics. So when I graduated, I kind of jumped in that stream as well. She had an agent that I was in contact with, and he got me started. So I played for 7 seasons abroad, and I just loved it. And I think college is a time you can grow up in, but I needed a little extra, I guess. I was a little special, so I needed a few more years. So I went abroad, and I really grew up and got to play the sport I love and travel and be with people, which I also love.
Oh, that's so cool. So you were head coach here in the late 80s,
yes.
And then you came back. What made you want to come back? What drew you to Iowa, just kind of in general?
Yes. Well, again, it was the opportunity originally that they needed a coach after I had been abroad for just 1 season. I graduated in December, and I was in Sweden, and that was a long ways from Sabre-Arrowsmith. And really dark in the winter, really cold, a great experience, but they weren't sure they had a contract for me for the fall. And so when I came home, Jill Hutchins said, hey, you better walk down the street there. They've got an opportunity to go in and talk to Barb. And I knew Barb Cothran in high school. Actually, she coached in high school, and I played against her high school team, Tri Valley. So I came in to talk with her, inquire about the job, and she basically that just question and answer time with her became an interview, and I had a job by the end of the week. And so that was, again, an incredible opportunity. I was still a bit young to jump into that. Going back, I often wonder, gosh, should I have stayed? But, one thing happened and then another, and I went from Illinois Wesleyan to University High School. But once I landed at University High School, and that was just again for an opportunity that looked different than this was, I thought, I don't know what I've done, and I really missed playing. So long story short, I went abroad again, and that's where I kind of stayed that 7-year stint. And then coming back, I've coached really since I left Illinois State and left Illinois Wesleyan the first time. Anytime I was abroad, I was coaching youth teams, 10-year-olds to 18-year-olds. And so when I came back, I started coaching at Illinois State. Again, another door that was just wide open. Jill Hutchison had just lost an assistant to Iowa. Rose Peoples moved out of Illinois State and over to Iowa, so it was late in the summer when Jill had this, and so there was a spot when I was stopping my career playing, and so I started coaching for her. And what a mentor she was as a player and then as a coach, just invaluable to my skills now as a coach. And so I did that, and then had a family, and so that was hard because having a family was really important to me. And so I coached until our daughter was 2, and I said, no, I waited too long for this. I can't do the thing I want and love above basketball, even though I love basketball. So I stopped for 17 years and raised our kids and would never take that back in those moments. So I just never lost the love of coaching. I just never did. And we were out of town for 17 years, and then we came back to town 5 years ago. And again, I was just like, man, how can I make this work? And Maya was the coach that said, sure, come and when you can, and help us when you can, and welcome. And that was perfect for me. So here I am, and I love it. And it's kind of funny that I come full circle, and that Denny Bridges still comes into the gyms, and I see him, I get to talk with him, and he was one of the people that I'm sure was part of my hiring, or had to okay it.
So I guess now kind of talked about like the atmosphere of just Illinois Wesleyan sports in general. Like our athletics, we have a pretty rich tradition, I would say,
Yes.
even though I'm pretty new here. So talk about like how cool is it to be like a part of that tradition?
It's wonderful, and you're right. In your short time here, it doesn't take you very long to figure out that this is a gym. It's a hidden gym. It really is. And people underestimate, they don't understand what it's like until you're here. And it is a very special place. I enjoyed it when I was here the first time. It was very special to me. Now I even appreciate this so much more. It's just like I feel like there's a reason that I'm here. I think it offers athletes the perfect combination of academics and competitive sports. People think, wow, this isn't as good as Division II, Division I, and moving up or something like that. It really isn't about that. It comes down just to the core of loving to play what you play and doing the best you can and being the best you can be every day. And to experience that again for me, it just solidifies that this is a wonderful place. And the academic side of it, I really see the value in the small classes, the small campus, where you don't walk across the campus and not be known or seen. And that's important. I went to a bigger campus. I have a daughter at a bigger campus right now, and I can see that it's the little places and pockets that they find to fit into that really is their life. And this is as big as anything you'd find anywhere else. You aren't going to be part of all of it anyway. And so the connections that the students have for life from coming to a small campus like this are invaluable. And the way they just take care of you until you have your own job. Yeah. I wouldn't hesitate to have one of my other sons step into this program. It's that good.
Very cool. Do you have a couple maybe favorite memories from being here?
I have a funny memory. I don't know if it's a favorite. I just got it as I came across the street, because I usually park on this side of the building, but I parked across the street so it's just a little bit closer. And those vans that are sitting there, well, that's what I drove when I was the coach. And I wasn't very old, 23, to be driving a van with 15 girls in it up to Chicago, North Park and Wheaton, and I'm thinking, they're trusting me with this van. And long story short, I came back with a van that I had to humbly walk into Barb Cothran's office and say, we're okay, we're all safe, but the windshield wiper on the van is broken. Because, yeah, we were in a rainstorm, and I'm trying to be as safe as I can with all these girls in my car, and I'm looking at the train tracks that are going off, but I can't see because the rain's coming crazy. And just as I pull up, because I'm not on the track, I wasn't that close, but here comes this arm down, hits my windshield, and freaks me out, and the train goes rolling by the front of us, and I'm like, are we all still here? And it had just hit the windshield. So I had to come back and take care of that. But that is a memory that I'll never get rid of. And thank God to this day that we were all safe.
So that's
That's what you had?
yeah.
What do you remember, I guess, about when you took over in your first kind of season
Yes.
coaching and, Barb Cothran, obviously, there's not many people that are more supportive of women's athletics
That's
and all
right.
of that. What was the relationship with her? What was the relationship with your players and kind of that whole process?
Yes. All new for me again. I was young, but Barb was wonderful. She, to me, was intimidating because I'm kind of a people pleaser, and I knew how good she was. I'd seen her for years, and she was always supportive of me when I was at Illinois State. I knew she was a good friend of Jill Hutchison's, and I just felt I had a lot of people watching me. And that was a little bit hard for me, but she made it as seamless as possible and just welcomed me, showed me my office, was there every day to answer questions for me. She would watch my practices. It wasn't a program that was at the top where we are now, I would say, with Illinois Wesleyan's women. So that was a struggle for me because I didn't like this being down. I liked it and I didn't. I liked the challenge of developing players. That's always been my love and my strength, probably. So that I loved. I loved the relationship with the girls. They were appreciative of me being here, and we just worked hard fundamentals. I was only here 2, maybe 3 years, and so we were just improving constantly. But with Barb's support, with Denny's support, we moved from Memorial Gym to going to play in Fred Young Fieldhouse the year after I left, and that was all because of the support of Denny Bridges and the men's coaches over here. They welcomed that, and that was kind of a fine line. That's when women were starting to build into equity. And I wasn't I wasn't very loud and vocal in that. I was kind of meek and mild, and Barb really gave me the strength to do that as she pushed me out the door and said, nope, you got to go to Denny's office and you got to ask this and this and this. Yes, okay, I can do it. And she really helped me sit down with Denny and talk about that and got the girls to play in Frederick Fieldhouse the next year. And now that was the year I left to go to U-High, and Denny, I don't think everybody's going to let me forget that either. He, supported me and said, yeah, you can do it, and now you're going to leave? But yeah, just wonderful. I loved how girls could come to practice, work their tails off, but also leave at 4 o'clock if they had a lab. That was really neat and unique, and we didn't have that at Illinois State at that time.
What else, I guess, would you have to say in regards to the support, then versus now, and, what that kind of, having come back for these last 5 years, what's kind of made you look at it and be like, wow, this is so great that our student athletes now have these opportunities that maybe you didn't have. Driving the vans might be one of them.
Driving the vans, I think I think they feel taken care of. And I don't think back then we felt not taken care of, though, as well. So I don't think it has changed, but I don't think it's changed as much as as you might think, the core of it. Because I think the core of sports is you do it because you love it. And if you're doing that, that's really the heart of it. So I think we still have student athletes that love it the same way those athletes did in the 80s. But rather than to get a sack lunch from the cafeteria, which was a good meal too, then we get to order online, and we get to have that taken care of. We get to have snacks in the locker room. The coaches don't have to go down and do the laundry now and go down into a facility that isn't like this facility. This facility is wonderful for them. I think those are the things that have changed. I see the camaraderie amongst the coaches very similar from what I hear. I'm not involved in that like our head coaches and assistant coaches are, but I think that's just like it was back then. We would go to a coaches meeting, that was a day out, Barb and I'd ride in the car all day, but that was a really special trip to meet with other coaches from the other schools, and I think the CCIW does that well, and it sounds like they're doing that today. I hear Maya talking all the time about how her relationship with the other coaches and their supportiveness. So I think that hasn't changed, just probably the opportunities to just have a little bit more for the physical training is probably more. The rehab, I think, is definitely more. Those kinds of things. But the athletes are the same, and the game is the same.
That's all I've got. Tree, you got anything else?
Anything
you want Marla to say on camera to you now? You've got it.
Tree is the best.
Yes. I do think that we've had the coaches, the staff. You know, I had a volunteer assistant, and now we have a grad assistant, an assistant, two volunteer assistants. So we didn't have that support. So that has grown tremendously. The facilities and the staff and the resources have grown. The films, we didn't have that. You know, yeah. Media.
I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
Just like after your experience playing overseas and then your experience coaching here for 2 years, what would you go back and tell yourself now, or what would yourself now go back and tell your younger self as a coach or your younger players? What advice would you go give them?
I think I always compared. I don't know what the word is. Maybe I lacked confidence sometimes that I could do. Like I always wanted to reach really high, but I always thought, oh, maybe that's not me. And I would just always encourage athletes to just believe in the process. The process works, and if you love it and you stick with it, it will pay off at the end of the day. And I look back at my career and I feel like I wouldn't change it, I guess, but I wonder sometimes where I kind of skipped around a lot, and sometimes I doubted that I could be as successful as I wanted to be, maybe. And so I don't know if that's really making much sense, but just believe in the process and stick with it day after day.
That's it. All right.
Is there anything for maybe, she said some really good things about D3 schools, for D3 week we can kind of maybe grab her to say?
I feel like we probably use that, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Or is it, that's a good call, though.
Yes. I think that I went to the NCAA museum in Indianapolis with my kids, and it's another hidden gem. And if you haven't been there, you need to go there, because it has athletes from all across the NCAA schools, and there really isn't a difference. There's just a fit, and you need to find out what fit is for you, and what fits one isn't going to fit another. So there is no wrong fit. There's a lot of aspiring athletes, and I like to tell them that I think if you really want to play badly enough, I think there is a place to play. You have to do your homework and you have to find that place, but there's a place to play. Now, yeah, I think there's very few that are that unrealistic to think that they couldn't be somewhere. So if they really had it in their heart to play, I think it's just finding the right school. And after leaving there, to my kids, I said, look, it really is NCAA sports. It's just athletics. It doesn't matter what level. You need to find the right one. And I have one girl at the Division I playing volleyball, and 2 boys aspiring to play basketball. And we talk about finding the school that fits you, and it doesn't have to be the same for all of you. And take the money out of it. That gets in there so easily, and rightfully so. It's meaningful to a family, and it was to mine. And so I understand that's something you want to strive for, and my kids want to do that too. But I think you're doing yourself a disservice for not taking a look at some of the wonderful Division III schools in the country.